Day 11 of our 12 days of books and businesses event. And y'all, I am so excited. This has been an exciting time for me, meeting new people and hearing about their awesome books and their businesses. I am Lakeisha Mabry. I'm your host and founder of the Open Book. And when I tell you, I have been busy this week. I was just telling Kalila, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't feel like vacation quite yet because y'all know I have Mrs. Mabry's unique desserts. So we've been like baking cakes. Okay. So today I'm on my last cake and I wanted to make sure that I was available and could give my all for this interview tonight because we do have a special guest with us tonight. And I'm excited to hear about her book. She has a whole series, y'all. So tonight, let's go ahead and welcome our guest author, Kalila. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you ready for Christmas?
Yeah.
And I found out, y'all, I thought she was in a whole other state, but she's here in the DFW area. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought you were in a whole other state. But we've been busy. We've had people from Chicago joining us, Louisiana. And so I'm so happy to have everyone join us. So before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Kalilah Coulter. I'm a teacher by trade. I have a Master of Divinity. I've written 5 novels and 7 poetry books. My poet name is Black Rain. And I have a not-for-profit called Love Crazy, where we use community programs and self-awareness workshops with speakers and entertainers to bring a voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, and faith to the faithless.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the organization?
Sure. We did, in Atlanta, we did a lot more of the community programs. In Atlanta, we did a lot more of the shows where we spoke to young people or people that's going through something, kind of help get people out of where they are to where they're trying to be. In Texas, we do more of the community programs. So we've had like the blankets for babies, where we provide blankets and storybooks for babies in shelters. We had Coats for Christmas one year where we did a coat drive. We did a Literacy is Everything, where we did a book drive for incarcerated youths. So here we do a lot more of like program type things.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Man, I like the coat drive too, because right now with this Texas weather though, we don't know what we're getting. We can sometimes get 70 degrees, like on Christmas. I think we're getting into 70s. But when I tell you got cold at the beginning of this year, where we were in the 20s, so people really, really need coats and books. I really promote reading, hence the Open Book Club. And so hearing about your book, you did a 3-part series, the Stillwater series, and this really just the covers really interested me, by just looking at the covers. So can you tell us what prompted you to write the series?
Well, the first book came to me in a dream, actually. And the dream was about Shayna and Drama, they're the secondary characters in the book. So at the same time, I was trying to write another book about undergrad that I decided not to write, but the main character, Kenny, I really liked. So I didn't want to let go of the character, even though I let go of the book. So I put him in Shayna and Drama's book and realized that his storyline would work out better in that book. And then after that, the rest of the stories just kind of started coming to me. Like while I was writing Stillwater's, Kenny's backstory popped out at me. So then that's how I ended up writing Kenny. And then while I was writing Kenny, his aunt Jazz's backstory popped out. So I started writing Jazz's story. And then while I was writing Jazz, then Remy's story popped out, which I guess is a spoiler alert. The next book is going to be Remy.
So are these stories based on like things that are happening at an HBCU? It seems like I saw an HBCU tale.
So the book, the first book, actually, it takes place at an HBCU. The second book takes place in Houston, and the third takes place in kind of Louisiana and Houston. So they're not true stories. but they're based on real things that actually happen all the time that people kind of want to deny and not talk about or just brush under the rug. So it shines a light on a lot of real life situations, but they're all fiction.
Okay, okay. Yes, I'm from Houston. So I live in the Fort Worth area, but I am
Okay.
from Houston. And so that does help, like when you're reading a book and you can relate to the city and the different things that may pop out. Cause I know I read another fictional book recently and I was like, oh, I know what that is, you know. So you connect to the characters more. So what prompted you to write a fictional story?
That's just the way I picture the stories in my head. They look like movies when I start writing them. So I haven't really gotten to any nonfiction yet, but at some point I probably want to write some, uh, not exactly self-help, but some kind of help books for young people.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. So, okay, with these three, okay, I wanted to talk about each one of them. Like, if you could give us a brief synopsis, like the name of it, and then what is it about, like the main idea of that particular story.
Okay, so Still Waters is the story of Natasha. This is the HBCU story that's in Virginia. So she's in love with this guy, Colin, who she grew up with. In the story, Colin hits every part of the abusive cycle, like every part of it. You can see where he's about to go. She meets Kenny in college, who becomes her best friend. He falls in love with her and he kind of tries to help her out of her situation. He tries to get his aunt to help her out of it also. The next book is Kenny's back. So in Still Waters, we actually hear a little bit about Kenny's backstory and we find out why he's so protective of her. And we hear a little bit of his aunt's backstory, which explains why he knows what he's looking at when he watches Natasha and Colin. So the next book, Kenny, expands on his backstory. And we delve deeper into that and how it's kind of like his story of growing up. So the series works backwards. So this one goes back to him growing up and his family, the family business, and how they try to keep him in it and he tries to get out. And then Jazz's story is the story of her. It starts with her growing up. So Kenny's story takes place in the 90s. Jazz's story takes place in the 60s and 70s. And so Jazz's story is her growing up and how it explains how she ends up. Like a lot of people have a lot of questions about Jazz when they read the series. So her book answers all those questions and explains why she ends up the way she does, how she becomes the person that she is, and like why she would stay with the kind of person that Kenny describes in his story.
Oh, I like that, man. So, okay, with each of these books, about how long did it take you to write these?
Still Waters, I started in 2001 and I finished it around 2010. So that one took a long time. Kenny, like I said, Kenny, the backstory of Kenny started out in Still Waters. And I started fleshing that one out probably about 2011. And Kenny was a lot faster to write, but I wrote it out of order. So after I finished writing it, I had to go back and piece the puzzle together and put it in like a consecutive order that would make sense in a book. And then Jazz, I started writing right when I was wrapping up Kenny. And I just finished that one a couple of weeks ago. So that one's coming out next month.
Ooh, oh my goodness. So, did you attend an HBCU?
I did. I actually attended 3. I went to undergrad at Clark Atlanta. I did some grad work at Hampton, and then I also attended the Interdenominational Theological Center.
Okay. You know what? I've always wanted to go. I attended University of Houston, and I didn't do right when I lived on campus. I just didn't go to class. I started off right, but it just, I don't know, I got a little just into my own schedule and ended up, and I always tell people my testimony, I did drop out after the first year and a half, but it's some things, and I did eventually go back to school and graduated with 3 other degrees. but it's something about, like, I watch it on TV and I've heard about people's experiences attending HBCUs. It sounds like a lot of fun. And I really kind of, sometimes a part of me hates that I did not attend one. And also just living on campus, like I tried it for a little bit, but I was a commuter like the other times. And so a lot of these experiences, I'm excited because I do want to read this. Were there parts of your book that were kind of based on real life experiences?
Well, I can say the HBCU experience is a lot of fun. You were right about that. Even if you were a commuter, because I only joined campus the first year. The rest of the time I lived off campus and it was even more fun. So probably a lot of the exciting aspect of the book is real life. There's a lot of common experience in going to an HBCU, but there's also a lot of common experience in the real life themes that happen in the book too. Nothing specifically is real, but it will look very familiar if you went to an HBCU. Like different stuff that happens, they're like, oh yeah, we did that. We used to do that. Or even like some bad things. Like if you've been in a situation like hers, you'll be like, oh, I know where that's going. So it's going to be familiar, but it's not true.
Okay, got you. I love that. I love that. So, what is okay? Well, let me ask this question first. Thinking about your series, have you ever thought about turning your books into like TV shows or a series for Netflix or something like that?
I have. Everything that I've ever written, that's what I had in mind first. So, like, growing up, I was a really huge fan of S.E. Hinton, who wrote The Outsiders, and Stephen King. And I always liked the way all of their books became movies and how they kept the creative rights when they were doing it and creative control of their stuff. So when I started writing, that was always my goal. I always pictured it and played it all the way out as a movie first and then start writing it.
Oh, yes. And I'm a visual reader and learner too. So I see things in pictures. So that is good. Like I have to see it first. But when I'm reading a book, I create a visual in my mind, like a TV show or a movie. And I try to, because I'm in education as well, I try to tell my students that when you're reading, something should be going across your mind, not just reading words, but what visual, are you getting? So I guess that would make it a little easier, to start a TV show or something like that. So if there are some authors that are watching right now, and I love that, we've had a variety of authors that have written anthologies. Now we have fiction. What piece of advice would you have for future author or someone that is working on a book?
I would say just start writing and the story would take care of itself. Especially if God has placed some sort of message on your heart that you feel like needs to be, that would help somebody else, or if something's been brought to your attention that really stands out that nobody's really talking about and you're like, why not? They need to be. I would say definitely start writing and find a way to get the story out there, even if you can't find somebody else to put your story out there, do it yourself.
I love that. I love that because I believe there's a book in everyone. It could be the smallest thing. You would be surprised at how many people can relate to something that you're going through, or just a thought or a story in your mind. Just putting it on paper really, really helps. So if we wanted to order your books or follow you, how are we able to do that? And I'll put up some of the information you sent me also.
Okay. All of my books are available on Amazon. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, SoundCloud, Snapchat at Kalila Coulter. That's KalilaCoulter. And you can follow my stories on Kalila Coulter My Life.wordpress.com.
Thank you so much. Y'all, let's order this book because I love having discussions about things like this. Like this seems like a very interesting story, and it seems like it can have another theme as far as domestic violence or abuse or of some sort. But I do want to order my book. So head on over to Amazon and order your books, okay? And I really want to thank you, Kalila, for being our special guest tonight. Oh my goodness, this was interesting. I wanted to hear more, and it seems like this has really piqued my interest. You giving us more information.
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So y'all follow her. I'm going to follow her as soon as I get off from here, because she has more information, and I love the organization that you're working with, and really doing some great things with that as well. And y'all, thank you for joining us tonight. I know it was a short night tonight, but it has been awesome. This whole 12 days of books and businesses. We do have one more day left, which will come on Christmas. Okay, you'll be surprised. It's not an author, because no one will probably want to come on here on Christmas Day, but I will be on location somewhere, and I'll do a quick pop-up, say hi, and highlight a business where I'm located, and enjoy our families. That's the important part, enjoying our families and friends during this time. I was telling my husband earlier that I really cannot think of anything else that I want. I want my family to be healthy. I know that that sounds very cliche, but that is very under, okay, rated right now. Sometimes, you know, around the holidays, you can get depressed and so forth, because there are people who have passed away, or right now I'm hearing of a lot of people facing some sicknesses and so forth. So having your family with you and really being healthy, that is a blessing. I know there are things we want to buy or get. That can come later. Appreciate the moments, okay? Because it's not always guaranteed. So I just hope everyone, in whatever way you find joy and peace this season, I hope you have a wonderful Merry Christmas. I know I'm finishing up my cakes tonight. I'm trying to get little gifts wrapped and things of that sort. But y'all rest and enjoy your family and your friends, and be safe while you're doing that this holiday season. So I hope everyone has a great next couple of days. But like I said, I will pop on Christmas Day for a short time. But I love you all, and have a blessed day. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.